Vladimir Putin has not given up his hope of transforming Ukraine into a kind of a Belarusian-style dominion where he basically controls the foreign defense policy of Ukraine, and he has a sort of a local satrap along the lines of Lukashenko in Belarus or Yanukovych in Ukraine to run domestic affairs on his behalf. That's Putin's wet dream for Ukraine. He thought he had that in December 2013 when he bribed Viktor Yanukovych, then the president, with this so-called loan of 15 billion, 3 billion of which was dispersed. We don't know where that money went. Of course, it's probably stolen along with everything else. And the idea was Yanukovych turns away from Europe. He becomes a Russian satrap. He stays in power. He's re-elected in 2015 with Russian help. And then he gets Ukraine to join the CIS Customs Union, which in 2015 becomes the Eurasian Economic Union. This was Putin's plan all along. It didn't quite go like that. We know very well, Euromaidan revolution, Ukrainians didn't agree, and then Putin was very angry, so he annexed the Crimea and began a war in eastern Ukraine. But he hasn't given up a hope of returning to that question. One reason being is that he fervently believes, like the majority of people in the Russian Republic, that Ukrainians and Russians are one people, один народ, as he keeps talking about it, that they all lived happily in Kyivan Rus. Just a month ago, in the center of Moscow, a monument to Grand Prince Volodymyr, the ruler of Kyivan Rus from the 10th to 11th century, was unveiled in a city, Moscow, that didn't even exist at the time. So hence he's making a claim to the territory of Kyivan Rus. If you believe that Ukrainians and Belarusians are basically just Russians with a funny sort of dialect, funny customs and costumes, then you're not going to accept that they can have an existence outside the Russian sphere of influence. And so that kind of wet dream of Putin will continue. Even though it clashes fundamentally with the transformation of Ukrainian national identity that's particularly taken place since 2014, but even more generally since 1991 in the remainder of Ukraine.